Hey everyone, Sean here, and welcome to this review video. Today we're going to be sitting down and talking about the live action series for the hit video game franchise and that is still buzzing nowadays under the umbrella that is Sega, and that is of course Like a Dragon, formerly known as the Yakuza franchise. The Yakuza slash Like a Dragon franchise has always been that high adrenaline, action, drama filled, a lot of heartaches and ups and downs. But you also have the sort of soft sides, if you will, the comical sides, and even the comical sides have some great action. You just never know what's around the corner. So that's what makes these games great. Even if it does admittedly follow that same sort of formula, all taking place in the, of course, renowned Kamurocho for the fans. And, all that stuff really adds up to where it is at today in the sort of palette of Sega. And that is also why the video game character Kiryu, Kazuma Kiryu, has been one of those iconic video game characters of this sort of part of the era, along with like Solid Snake, Sam Fisher, Crash Bandicoot, Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario, you name it, right? Kiryu is pretty much kind of up there, right? So with all that said, does this TV series that is on Amazon Prime live up to that sort of mantra, if anything? And after watching the 6 episodes that have come out, I'm gonna have to say, I'm afraid that it does not live up to the name, and in fact, it misses the target quite a distance. While it does have some things going, there were very important check marks that were missed in this 6 episodes. Even if I went in with my expectations very tempered and low, just very indifferent and all that in between, I came out of that experience pretty disappointed, and I felt like my time was wasted as a viewer for these type of TV series, that you can stream. There are several reasons that I would like to go over, if not just the major ones. But this, first off, interesting name because it's called Like a Dragon Yakuza, and then there is of course one of the main games called Yakuza Like a Dragon, which essentially is Yakuza 7. And that is of course when the turn-based RPG gameplay format began, and I believe they'll continue that format for a good while. But and also that is of course the first time featuring the very new protagonist Ichiban Kasuga. But in this TV series, it is of course featuring the sort of the renowned Kiryu, aka the Dragon of Dojima, of course, along with his best friend Nishikiyama, Akira Nishikiyama, and his love interest, which is Yumi Sawamura. As they were, as they grew up as orphans, at least they got that part right. But then, this is a TV series where they take many liberties to write their own story in the Yakuza slash Like a Dragon name. Well, literally, they took both of those names and mashed it together. So they, went ahead and did that, which is a very common thing, yes, amongst going from video game or whatever source material to live action. There's going to be some changes, and sometimes very extreme. And in this case, there were changes that I do question. Okay, first off, Haruka is supposed to be Yumi's daughter. Is now written as the daughter of Yumi's sister, who is I think a new character in this or exclusive characters for this live action series. and I'm already like forgetting her name because the nature of my feelings for this show as a whole. So one of the very first things I feel like they got missed with this with their source material is the tone. The tone of Yakuza is very specific. You have to just play the game to understand. In fact, you have to play the whole game to pretty much understand. And I think the perfect starting point, of course, easily enough, is Yakuza Zero. It encapsulates all the attitude, the pretty literally the heat, right? The comedy, the tones, right? The humorous tones and the serious tones, and all the just those badass moments. How the bosses are introduced, and the sequences, the rhythm, right? This is where you really get to know the rhythm of the Yakuza storytelling. All that is encapsulated in Zero, in my opinion, which is why to this very day, I would say Zero is still by far the best Yakuza game in my opinion, because it just encapsulates everything. The combat is really fun. Yes, it has its flaws, but just everything about Yakuza is so much good in Zero. And this seems to be mumbo jumbo all over the place because we're taking, they're taking things from Zero, but then they're taking things from one already. It's just very confusing of what this timeline is supposed to be established within the universe of the live action. See, I was, trying to go in with the mindset of, well, this is supposed to be an else world, just a different Yakuza sort of story. But even then, even with that mindset, I felt like they were really fumbling with what they're trying to do here. So, and that of course includes the tone. The tone of this show pretty much comes off as a very typical like this mafia drama from Japan, right? A Japanese mafia drama. And of course, yes, that always most likely features Yakuza gang members in those type of dramas. Because of course, the Yakuza are the by far the most famous, renowned gang in Japan. There are, and you have to think about it, there are many other gangs in Japan, but of course, Yakuza are by far the most well known because of the movies, the news, and the all the things that they've done in the past, the stuff that has happened to them, the legends, right? The sort of stories you hear from Yakuza gang members, right? It really, you know, stamps into the sort of entertainment culture, right? When it comes to gangs, mafia films, and such like that. And for something like this to take the name of Like a Dragon or Yakuza and make it into just this very typical, um, drama, J drama, even, I found to be questionable, and even as I would say, as far as somewhat insipid, right? Or insidious, because it just doesn't do many of the things from Yakuza slash Like a Dragon justice. Most importantly, Kiryu just doesn't feel badass on the screen. And even taking into the fact that yes, it's supposed to be a origin story. How Kiryu is trying to become the Dragon of Dojima, which that of itself is already different. He wasn't trying to be a dragon. He just happened to earn the name, if you will, during his time in the Yakuza world. He joined the Yakuza gang because he admired Kazama so much. Of course, he didn't know what happened with his parents, and of course Kazama. But he was still a father to him, and he wanted to give his eternal sort of gratefulness back to Kazama by joining the gang, right? By joining the underworld, if you will. And during his time He happened to just be very reputable and earned the name Dragon of Dojima, um, with his own soul power. But things are very different in here. He solely wants to become the Dragon of Dojima in the live action. That's like the very much the driving point for the story in Like a Dragon Yakuza. So that already sets a very different sort of stepping stone for this story. And another thing about um, what this TV series got wrong, I think, in my opinion, anyway, is of course the fighting. The choreography was just off. It didn't have that same impact. The weight, it just came off as very disappointing. Even during these sort of the fight scenes during the underground portion of things, which that of itself is strange because um, while yes, it does kind of happen with the setting in Yakuza Zero, the circumstances are very different. So I don't know if young Kiryu ever did something like this in the video game world, but here he does, and that's kind of how he started to earn the dragon tattoo on his back. So again, that was very different, but the fighting of itself was just very stale. He was already doing the dragon stance, right, which is all again wrong because he's supposed to sort of like grow up to it, right? And he's not even the dragon yet, right? So he's not even the dragon of Dojima yet. So why would he be doing that stance, right? That's like if you got the dragon stance right at the beginning of Yakuza Zero. That's wrong. You're supposed to earn that in a optional quest, but he's already doing that somehow. Yeah. So the fighting of itself, for the most part, was very stale. It just didn't have that same pizzazz. It didn't have the same flavor. It didn't have the same sort of coolness and impact that I look forward to every time I play a Yakuza game. You know, he doesn't even, of course, have the audacity to even lift up a bicycle and smash it over a dude's head or anything like that. No, that doesn't even take a like I don't know, the orange and then shove it up in someone's mouth, or some firecrackers and shove it up in someone's mouth and then boom, anything like that. Or even go into the convenience store, shove their head into the microwave and have the clerk hit the button for them and then boop, nothing like that. So obviously this show was trying to go for a much more realistic tone, but even then it didn't even pull any of the sprinkles from the video game. The camera work was wonky during the fights. He does some of the moves, if you will, but the camera work, the choreography is just off. So it just comes off as subpar. Even when he did the power bomb, I was like, oh, he did the power bomb, but it just didn't have that same boom, the impact, like I've been saying. And he even like shoved someone's face on the wall and like scraped it by and whatever, but I don't know, it just doesn't have that same feel to it. And what's even more sort of empty, right, or missing, what was missing even more during those sort of moments is the music. The choice of the music in this TV series was very, very off. None of Hidenori's music was ever in here, or even a genre similar to of the type of music was inserted into here at all. In fact, they even had the audacity to play some of those soundtracks or licensed songs, like Mr. Blue Sky during just a certain sequence, right? And that was just all the more wrong that happened in the show. Now, another thing they had wrong, of course, is importantly the characters. a lot of the characters were just cardboard cutouts or cardboard copies of the characters that they were portraying. While for the most part they were wearing the outfits similar to their counterparts, their actual characterization was just minimal at best. Kiryu, especially, he was already wearing the suit, which first off, he doesn't really earn it until the end of Zero, and the circumstances again are very different. Now, Kiryu of himself is only stern, he's only serious, very melodramatic, but that doesn't even come off as cool, right? None of the soft sides of Kiryu ever make it into this show. You never get to see the sub stories. You don't get to hear the sub story guitar music that you always hear when you play these games. None of that flavor ever makes it into this little bowl, right? Otherwise, very much different things were placed instead. And again, it just comes off as like this stereotypical J-drama material. So he only comes off as stern, but doesn't even have the same charisma that that this Kiryu has, comparing to the game version of Kiryu when he is serious. The charisma just doesn't add up. And again, you don't get to see his soft side either, so there's no sense of contrast between the two, and therefore the embracement, the endearment is missing. It just doesn't happen. One of the very worst things about this show is the constant flashbacks, the constant jumping back and forth with the present and the past. So the present timeline is supposed to be 2005, but it just constantly goes back to 1995 or even sometimes 85 or in the 80s, and it just got very, very annoying. So I think what they simply should have just done is tell the story from the 80s or 95 or the 90s in the first 3 episodes with the one dash of the present in the beginning, but then establish how he got to that position in the first place, but then tell this constant story of when he was young all the way up to that point, and then he goes to jail, blah blah blah, whatever, all that stuff, right? So the flashbacks were very, very, very annoying, and it took away your chance to even have some sort of remote endearment towards any of the characters. That includes, of course, Yumi's sister, Nishikiyama, and Miho, which is Nishikiyama's sister, another character new to the show, who was pretty pleasant, but unfortunately didn't have enough time on the screen, especially with all the flashbacky sequences. So yes, that was very much one of the worst things, if not probably the worst thing that was happening during the show, which was the constant jumping back and forth. There was another show I watched that was very bad about it, which was Legendary's Monarch, which was supposed to be like a in-between / origin story of how Monarch was established for Legendary's Godzilla universe, or Monsterverse Godzilla. Very much the same thing. And here, of course, is no exception, plus they even took it even farther, which was, again, way more annoying. There are plenty of other weird establishments of how certain characters were or have become the character you know in the video game-ish, including, of course, the Flores of Psy. Now, I'm not sure how the game's version of the Florist of Psy was established, but in the TV show, it just felt wrong. It felt too soon. But other than that, yes, the Florist of Psy does those things from the video game to here in the TV show, but he just doesn't act the same while doing so. You know, in the Florissa side in the video game has very much more of a refined riz or charisma to him, while in the TV show he just comes off of as a big dick. He's just very, very much a big asshole. You know, because of his stereotypical origin, if you will. So again, like it's just really comes off as this very cardboardish nature. You know, it's almost like when you're eating that ice cream that's on a stick, you eat it, but the stick itself has much of the flavor as the ice cream itself when you want to taste the ice cream. That's how it kind of feels like watching this show. That's kind of like kind of a majority with these characters. Sohei Dojima is pretty different, but at least it's played by an actor that I watched or used to watch from the past. Funny enough, from Yakuza films, including Brother. So, it's kind of nice to see him back, speaking English and all, in one sequence. But there were some characters that were very much disrespected in this show. And that includes Shibusawa. And what they did with Shibusawa was just, like why? I very much question it. It makes me glad that I didn't get to see Kuze nor Awano make it into this TV show, because they would have been disrespected as much as what Shibusawa went through in the TV show. And I wanted to think that this was just a different Shibusawa, but no, he had the same first name, last name, and all. That was Shibusawa, and didn't stay on for too long. And you know what? The same thing happened with Taiga. Taiga is the partner. He like a sworn brother, comrade in arms with Majima. He gets offed quite early in the show. Very disappointing. When he is a very well-established character, as well as Majima, as well as Akiyama, or Shun Akiyama. Right. The disrespect is pretty strong in this show for some reason. And again, with Kiryu, you might as well call it disrespect, because they do not do him justice. Yeah, he wears a suit. Yeah, he has the hair. Yes, he has the actor's combat prowess, but everything else does not get checked off. So this is the same situation, kind of like with Godzilla '98. The thing about Godzilla '98 is that the film of itself is fine. It's a popcorn monster flick, but because it bears the name of Godzilla, you have to do take certain liberties to respect the name, to make it Godzilla, right? And that film did all those things wrong. Same with here. They pretty much did most of the things wrong. They did not check off those check marks, check boxes, and so this comes off as very cardboardy, very, very void of the pizzazz, void of the action, the heat that it brings, the spice. So that's essentially the big basics of the show that I felt were wrong with it. The music, the characters, the writing, the dialogue, at this point is so what? The only thing they really got right was Kamurocho of itself. The set was really cool, right? I like the buildings. I like that it was practical for the most part. And the violence, right? I'll give it that. And they tried to do some ambitious shots. I'll give it that. But the cinematography during the fights, the choreography is very much missing. It's very hollow. You don't get to see that high adrenaline action fighting with like cool moves and anything that you get to see during the QTE moments, right? in the games, that Kiryu is always involved with in, or Ijuban, whatever, right? And by the way, in case you haven't caught a hint already, I have played the games, most of them for the most part. Um, the only thing I'm missing is 3, 4, 5, 8, or Infinite Wealth, and that's pretty much it. I played 0, 1, 2, and uh, the Dead Souls game that was remade, and then the Judgment games, right? Judgment, Lost Judgment, and oh yeah, and I played Yakuza 6. So, um, and I have played Yakuza Like a Dragon. So very much so, I get the tone, I get the pizzazz, I get sort of the ins and outs about the game franchise, and most of that is very much missing here, like I've been saying. So I hope I'm not forgetting anything else, but at this point, I think everyone can agree that this is such a hollow attempt at trying to cash in on the name of Like a Dragon Yakuza. And they even went out and as far as saying like we're gonna do our own thing. Um, I just wish that they didn't put that name, because otherwise it's a typical drama, a J drama, but um, yeah, it just comes off very hollow. So let's not put this all on the actors. I think it's just pretty much the showrunners, the directors, and the writers, and all that stuff, and probably Sega, or whoever the producers were. They did this on purpose, I felt, and of course the actors tried to do their best. The casting is just on top of that. When it comes to issues, somebody could have, somebody else could have been Kiryu for sure. I know it's Ryuma Takeuchi, who has been playing the Kamen Rider stuff, and so he has pretty much like that experience with the combat, the stunts, and all that. But the actor himself lacks that grit, the pizzazz, right? The stern nature, the stoicness, right? That he can uh, take on for Kiryu, right? He lacks that, I feel, on the screen anyway. And there was one last character I'd like to talk about. I almost forgot, and that's Majima. Majima was like the closest thing to actually be 1-to-1, but even then they fucked up Majima, because he just comes off as an asshole. He doesn't come off as like cool or funny or anything like that. Um, he just comes off like a dick, a complete dick to Kiryu, and the whole Kiryu-chan thing comes off as hollow, like I've been saying. Um, he's very much on the screen little. And like he comes up in the beginning, comes up in the end. Like pretty much what you see in the trailer is what you get, plus 2 more scenes. That's pretty much it with Majima. And of course, you don't really get too much of an origin story for Majima, even though Yakuza 0 is supposed to be half and half, I feel, with Kiryu and Majima. So missed the ball there, pretty much, with Majima. The actor playing Majima, funny enough, is from Godzilla Minus One as the captain slash plane mechanic, but I felt like he was getting Majima down, but with the lack of a screen time, the wrongful writing, the characterization is off. He just falls into everything else that's been happening with this live action series. So I'm not gonna even go into spoilers, because this is I don't think it's even worth it. I At first, episodes 1 through 3, I wasn't impressed, but I was willing to give it that full chance. With the rest of the episodes 4 through 6, left me very much disappointed. I was actually not having a good time. That was rough. that was rough, man. Ugh. The final fight was just weak. It was just flat. You know, like I've been saying, the choreography was very lacking. You know, just a lot of stabbing, and not even like a cool way. The twists, quote unquote, were very predictable, right? Even if I was going into the show, blank, right, with a blank mind or a blank palette, it would have been predictable, right? Especially what Nishikiyama's sister was written to be. You kind of see where that's going. And then the stuff with Yumi's sister, I just didn't care enough because of what the show was like. I felt very indifferent. Yumi herself was just okay. Um, Nishikiyama himself was just whatever, you know. And that's the kind of attitude I came out with because of what the show was doing. And a lot of things by the end were very awkward. It became a mess, and it was just hard to watch, honestly. To wrap it up, um, it is, especially if you're going with a blank palette, an interesting watch, but it definitely is not a fun one. And funny enough, my mom was watching it, and she thought it was fine, but she said she could tell, she can tell that the story was watered down, and it very much was missing the video game panache. But she thought it was fine. As someone who does not play video games, but she understands why the video game fans are the ones criticizing the show or panning the show, and I am one of them now. So with all that said, for Like a Dragon Yakuza, very interesting title, right? Because again, there's a game called Yakuza Like a Dragon. That's Yakuza 7, and there's this TV show, Like a Dragon Yakuza. That's not confusing, right? But anyways, with all that said, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 4 out of 10. Honestly, no, honestly, the 4 points come from like the Kamurocho setting, the camera work, the colors, to an extent. But there are just a lot of like that ambitious lighting that missed. Especially with that blue lighting at the end. Oh my goodness, that was annoying. You know, and that's kind of pretty much it. And Majin was okay. Some of the other characters were okay. Kazama was okay. So that's why it's all that stuff gathers into a 4 out of 10. Below average. At first it was a 6. For first 3 episodes were a 6. Because of what could have been. But by the end, it's a 4. There is no could have been. That's all I can say. So that's it for me. For my experience for Like a Dragon Yakuza. And what do you guys think? For those who watched the show, let me know in the comment section below what you thought. Did you watch the whole thing? Did you drop off halfway? Anything like that? Comment section below. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell. So it really helps out, and I do appreciate it, guys. So, again, this has been the review for Like a Dragon Yakuza. 4 out of 10. I hope they don't come out with another season. And yes, they did a fucking cliffhanger. Right. In hopes that they would do a second season. Jesus Christ. So, anyways, thank you very much, and hope to see you all in the next one. Sean out.